The Missouri National Guard held the 2015 State Best Warrior Competition at Camp Crowder in Neosho, Missouri. The annual competition brings together the best soldiers in the Missouri Army National Guard to compete on all facets of soldier skills, challenging their mental and physical abilities to the limit. Their ultimate goal is to represent Missouri at the regional and national Best Warrior competitions.
There's something about watching soldiers put everything they have into something. It's motivating, very inspiring.
The competition has two categories, one for junior enlisted and the other for non-commissioned officers. The events include a physical fitness test, weapon qualification, 12-mile ruck march, Army Warrior tasks, and combined land navigation course. One of the faster-paced events of the competition is the stress shoot, where soldiers have to perform various marksmanship skills, all the while being distracted by smoke bombs, fireworks, and verbal assaults from fellow guardsmen.
What are you shooting at?
I would say the most fun event was the stress shoot. I love that kind of stuff.
This incorporates some added stressors to it, some controlled chaos, if you will. The muzzle of your weapon is going to move around a little bit more. Your breathing is going to be a little bit off. Your heart rate's going to be elevated. It makes it more difficult to shoot.
Of course, you hear everybody in the background yelling different things. Oh, you can't shoot, or maybe aim a little lower next time. You can pretty well block all that out. You just think about, okay, breathe. Here's the task that I need to do. Squeeze the trigger.
I could have eaten an ice cream bar in this amount of time. Let's go, faster, faster!
I was like almost out of breath by the time I got to the entrance. Then I had to run some more to get to the first area to shoot some small targets with a pistol. I think it was my first sergeant. He said, slow down. Automatically, I just listened to what he said and I just stopped.
As the sun set on day one of the competition, the land navigation challenge began.
Land navigation is a very important skill for a soldier. If we find ourselves in the situations where we got to get from point A to point B and we don't have our technology we have these days, we've got to be able to navigate on the ground by hand using compasses and train association, things like that.
Well, land nav is always a bear. You go out there and you plot your points, and everything looks really pretty on a map, and you know in your mind where you're going, and you get out there and boy, it's briars up to your shoulders, and you're going through the thick woods, and you're looking for this tiny little point that, you know, on a map looks easy to find, but in reality, you're out there digging around for a while.
Day two of the competition began with an early morning 12-mile ruck march.
I would say that the hardest event was probably the ruck march. Just, it's so long, and you're going in the dark, and you can't exactly see your progress. You're just like, oh, when am I gonna be done?
You're deep in the woods, there's no moonlight, no type of light, so you're basically just trying to follow the path and not twist your ankles on a bunch of rocks.
For our 12-mile ruck march here on Camp Crowder, it's a varied terrain. It starts out fairly flat. Unfortunately for them, Camp Crowder is pretty deceiving. A lot of steep hills, a lot of low valley areas. Almost anybody can go out and walk 10, 12 miles, throw 35 pounds on your back, and it adds a whole new spectrum to getting out there and doing it.
I was pretty beat up by the end, pretty tired. As soon as I crossed the finish line, the people came right around me and took my ruck off and sat me down, and a medic came right over and looked at my feet, and it felt great to take my boots off.
There wasn't much time for rest as the competitors had to go from the 12-mile ruck march to the obstacle course, where 9 different obstacles each pose their own set of challenges.
My toughest obstacle was the confidence climb. I did it. It took me a little longer than I wanted it to. It goes pretty high, 30, 40 feet in the air. I got to the top and I looked down and I thought, wow, that's pretty high. And it goes back to that sort of mental agility thing where you can just focus on the task at hand and not worry about other stuff. And then when that's done, go to the next one.
The thing that really killed me the most, that Weaver.
Which is the one where you go over under the triangular shaped obstacle. That's probably one of the more difficult ones. It takes a lot of coordination and a lot of skill.
I can hear voices around me saying, don't fall, don't give up. You got it, go under. It's almost like I had tunnel vision. I was just focused on getting through this. I gotta do this.
Bring that leg under. There you go. Good. Good. Now you're cooking, baby.
You're testing your physical endurance, your mental toughness, but your personal courage as well, knowing that you can push yourself through those obstacles.
Come on. Hold. That a boy. Yeah, baby.
You put it all in this short 60-hour period with limited sleep and constantly changing what you're doing. It ramps up that intensity a lot.
After the competitors complete the physical portion, with limited sleep, we move them directly into the intellectual portion. At that point in time, they have to complete a 500-word essay, followed by an appearance board before 7 command sergeants major, who will test them on their basic knowledge of all Army doctrine.
As far as an overall ratio for mental to physical, we try to make it as close to 50-50 as possible.
This competition is an opportunity to excel. In order to excel, these citizen soldiers have to prepare on their own time, while maintaining their job and in some cases being full-time students.
Staff Sergeant David Wandel is a combat engineer with the Regional Training Institute at Fort Leonard Wood.
Most of the time when people ask what I do, I say, I teach people how to blow stuff up. That's the very basic description of what I do.
He is a full-time student and also works a part-time job for a logistics company. Specialist Larry Gary is an automated logistics specialist with the 35th Infantry Division in St. Joseph, Missouri.
I'm the guy who dispatches out vehicles, and I also create license for the other drivers as well.
He is also a full-time student and works a full-time job. The competitors aren't going at the Best Warrior competition alone. They have coaches or sponsors for mental and moral support. Sergeant Wandel had Staff Sergeant James Cockrell.
Energy, motivation. Oh yeah, that's what it needs. All right, that's what I want. That's what I want to hear. I want to feel. All right, I'm gonna be down here on the ground.
My coach, Jimmy Cockrell, he's an outstanding guy. Couldn't find a more likable guy, couldn't find a better supporter. And every time you see him, he's got a smile on his face. He's got something humorous to say or something positive, always encouraging.
To me, that's just a challenge, but challenges are like, I don't know, it's like a morning breakfast. Like, you can't wait to eat a bowl of cereal, right? It's outstanding though, right, Sergeant?
Yeah.
It is, all right.
He knows his stuff. He's been here before. And beyond that, he's just gonna be there operating at 110%.
Specialist Gary had Staff Sergeant Anthony Blair as his coach.
He's always there to give me advice. Whenever I have a problem, he always instantly comes up with a solution for me. I would say probably if I didn't have my coach or like the people behind me cheering me on, mentally I would have probably gave up a long time ago.
Sergeant Wandel and Specialist Gary were proud to represent their units and plan on competing again next year.
So yeah, I absolutely plan on coming back, and hopefully next year I'll have a little bit more heads up on what I need to look for. And a worst case scenario, somebody beats me and then I'll come down here and sponsor them.
Every one of these competitors has competed at the company, the battalion, the brigade, and now the state level. So they're the best of the best that the Missouri National Guard has to offer. So first and foremost, just making it this far, they should hold their heads high no matter what place they finish.
In my battalion, I won the Best Soldier Award. So just knowing that I have that is just enough for me.
Staff Sergeant James Chevalier of the 1128th Forward Support Company took first place in the Non-Commissioned Officer Division, and Specialist Christian Linhart of the 1135th Engineer Company took first place among enlisted soldiers. They both claimed the top spots at the regional 7-state competition and will represent Region 5 at the national competition in Utah. Coming up after the break, we'll learn how Missouri did at the National Best Warrior competition. The Missouri National Guard was represented by two of its best soldiers, Specialist Christian Linhart and Staff Sergeant James Chevalier, at the 2015 National Best Warrior competition held at Camp Williams, Utah. Only 14 soldiers from across the country qualified for the 3-day multi-event competition, which focused on warfighting skills and included night land navigation and calling in an airstrike from an Apache helicopter. Specialist Linhart took home the 3rd place award in the soldiers category for the Missouri National Guard.